As I stated before in my previous videos, the shift has already occurred in America where your white population is no longer the majority. And I don't really believe they were much of a majority in the first place. Seattle is less white than it has ever been in modern history. New census data show, and this is an article that came out in the Seattle Times, September 14th, 2017. And if you remember, we were talking about Harvard, how Harvard now has its first non-white freshman class in its history since it's been around. The data reveal that little, if any, of Seattle growth last year came from white people. So white people are not responsible for any growth at all in Seattle. That means the number of white people who moved in or were born here was roughly equal to the number of those who moved away or died. Is Seattle finally getting more diverse? Data released Thursday by the U.S. Census Bureau show that the white population in Seattle has dropped to 64.3% in 2016, down from 66% in 2015, a statistically significant change. That means Seattle is now less white than it has been ever in its modern history, and a long way from 1950, when 94% of the city was white. To be sure, Seattle is still very white compared to most other major cities, and yes, our ranking as the nation's fifth whitest big city remains intact. But the new data represents a change from the past several years. And if you can look at this chart, in 1950, they were at 94.2%. And you can see the gradual decline from the 50s all the way to 2006, where they are now 64.3%. 2016 breakdown by race. You can see the white population here, and then the next biggest population is Asian, followed by the black population, which is 48,802, the Hispanic population, Native and Pacific Islander, and other. All right. So that's the breakdown for 2016. And it's going to continue to change. I can tell you, as long as you got black and Hispanics there, you can best believe it's going to change every single year. Babies are coming. All right. Go back to 2012, and the city, like the nation as a whole, has been getting more diverse with each release of census data. The white population dropped to 65% that year. But then in 2013, seemingly out of the blue, the number jumped up to 67%. I bet you that was due to immigrants. That's just my guess. For the past couple of years, it's been stable at about 66%, meaning that the share of the white population in Seattle was the same as it had been in 2010. That was particularly notable given that the rest of King County was diversifying at a rapid pace. Some parts of South End, Turkwilla, SeaTac, Bryn Mawr, Skyway, and Boulevard Park are among the most racially diverse places in the United States. Renton and Federal Way and Kent are all cities with population made up of mostly people of color. Last year, Bellevue joined that list. The new census data show a single year change, so we'll have to wait and see if the trend continues. But let's take a look to see how Seattle diversified in 2016. Remember, last year, amazing growth spurt. Census data released in May showed that Seattle was, once again, the fastest growing big city in the country. The city added about 21,000 people, and the population passed the 700,000 milestone. Data released today revealed that little, if any, of the growth came from white people. The white population of 453,000 is basically unchanged from 2015. What that means is that the number of white people who moved in or were born here was roughly equal to the number of those who moved away or died. So their population has not shown any growth since 2015. Interesting. The move towards greater diversity in Seattle was mainly driven by a sharp increase in people who identified as having more than one race. Their numbers jumped by more than 8,000, or 19%, to a total of 51,000. With that increase, multiracial people are now the third largest racial or ethnic group in Seattle. Black people, whose numbers remained unchanged at 49,000, fall back to fourth. People who identify as having more than one race tend to be younger than the other racial or ethnic groups, with a median age of 24.8 in Seattle. Other groups that increased include Asians, which include Indian people and Pacific Islanders, Hispanics, and people who choose other when asked about their race. But the city's Native American population, already small, shrank by nearly half last year to just over 2,000. All right, so you can see the shift is happening. It's already happened, and you're going to see this is going to grow. Check out Seattle in another 10 years. I wouldn't be surprised by then. They are probably in the 50 percentile by then. Wouldn't be surprising. So tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can donate to my channel, please do. And please don't forget, if you can, to give a donation to my hurricane fundraiser for Hurricane Irma victims down in Florida. This is to help the people of color that are down there that are in need and are having a hard time because of all the price gouging that's going on in Florida. I don't care if you can't give nothing but $2. I would love your $2. Peace, family.